Welcome back to In Between Cuisine. I'm Tony Hickman. So I had a plan for today's video, but unfortunately it's freezing here, which it never seems to happen in Austin, but it's freezing and the defroster on my truck is not working. So there's no way for me to get the ice off my truck to go out and get the groceries that I need to make today's video. So I'm having to improvise. I just had to raid whatever I had here and see if I can't think of something good to cook. So after searching and seeing what I have 2 chicken breasts I need to use, and I have some mushrooms that are about to go bad, and I have some seafood stock and some herbs and spices, which actually I'm kind of glad that this happened because all the stuff I'm about to use was just on the verge of being expired. So actually good thing that this happened, so now I have a reason to make all this stuff. So what I'm going to attempt to do for you today is just kind of do a leftover or combine a whole bunch of things, create something out of nothing. Let's try some chicken breast with a creamy mushroom sauce. And I'll show you how to do that starting right now. And of course, we're going to start this off using my favorite, the cast iron. So this has already been sitting on some medium heat, and we're going to go ahead and add plenty of olive oil. And we're going to start by cooking the chicken. Now I have some 2 chicken breasts here. I have salt and peppered one side on each of the 2 breasts that I have that I need to use before they go bad. And go ahead and put those face down on the side that I have already seasoned. Once those are face down, go ahead and salt and pepper the other side. And the reason we're doing this is we want to get a little bit of a crust going on each side of the chicken breast. So salt and pepper to taste, but make sure you use, I like to use a generous amount. About 10 minutes later, 8 to 10 minutes later, this is over medium heat. You should have a nice little crust, a golden brown crust, looks similar to that. Give those a turn, and then do the same amount of time, about 10 minutes on the other side, or until, depends on the heat, you have a good golden brown on both sides of the chicken, just like so. Once those are done, go ahead and remove those from the heat and let your pan cool just a little bit, because we're going to put some butter using the same pan. If you put that butter on, that high heat is just going to burn right away. So go ahead, add your butter, return the pan to the heat, let that butter melt down, and then we're going to go ahead and add our mushrooms. Now again, I'm just using stuff I found in my kitchen that I needed to get rid of. These mushrooms actually had a Best By date of about 2 days ago, but we're going to go ahead and risk it and give them a cook in this butter. And you're going to let these saute in this butter for about 10 minutes to really get them soft. Go ahead and season with salt and pepper. Give it a good mix around. Saute for about 10 minutes, stirring occasionally. Once we have sauteed these, we're going to go ahead and add our shallots. I had this shallot left over from one of my previous videos. Onions are totally doable here as well, but I had the shallot open and I wanted to go ahead and use it. So salt, pepper again, and mix this in together with your mushrooms and coat them in the butter as well. If you need to add any more butter at this point, feel free to. It's not extra butter, isn't gonna hurt anything at all. But go ahead, give this a good mix together and let those onions cook down for about 5 minutes, or shallots I should say. At this point, we're gonna add just a splash of Worcestershire sauce. And I had some fresh thyme that was about to go bad, so I went ahead and added some fresh thyme. Give this, again, another good stir and let this cook just for a moment. Maybe, 30 seconds or so, 30 to 60 seconds. And then at this point, here's where I made my mistake. So I wanted to use red wine, but I didn't have any red wine. So I used red wine vinegar. I should have stopped about 3 seconds ago when I added that red wine, because the final dish was just a little too vinegary. So we do want to, if you use a red wine vinegar, using just enough to coat the bottom of the pan to deglaze the pan and get all that seasoning off of the bottom of the pan. Do not use as much as I just used. And before that, you should have added your garlic before you added that red wine vinegar. Another little mistake I've made, but it's fine. You could still add the garlic in here at this point. It's going to cook into the vinegar and the mushrooms just fine. So go ahead, add in your garlic, your crushed garlic, I should say. Stir that all in together and let that cook just for a moment. And then at this point, I had some fish stock I needed to use. So you could use chicken stock, beef stock, it's all good. Fish stock is just what I had open and I needed to get rid of it. And so we're going to bring that, we raised our heat a little bit, and we're going to bring this to a quick boil. Once we have this to a quick boil, we are going to add some milk. This is the point I realized that the cream I was going to use was way expired and I had to toss it. So I'm totally improvising at this point. Wasn't sure if this was going to work or not, but I had a little bit of milk and I found some plain Greek yogurt I had sitting in there. So I was like, you know what? We don't have any cream. Let's see if we can't just have a makeshift ready cream and see what happens. Again, at this point, I had no idea if this was going to work or not. Just totally making this up as I go. So you want to stir that around just to make sure you get all the little clumps out of there so it doesn't curdle. And then, again, no heavy cream, so it's still not creamy enough, so I had some cream cheese. So I went ahead and I added 1 whole packet of cream cheese. Now, I didn't have any other cheese. You know, I usually with a cream sauce, I would probably add some Parmesan at the end. I didn't have any of that, so we're just going to go ahead and stick with this whole container of cream cheese. We're going to mix this all around. And cream cheese actually takes a second to melt down, so that's why I wanted to bring this to a boil before we added the cream cheese. And if you can, set your cream cheese out of the refrigerator for a couple hours just to let it start, you know, getting a little softer. If you put it directly from the fridge into here, your cooking time is going to be, you know, greatly longer just because it takes so long for that cream cheese to melt. But once it does, it looks beautiful. You can still see little pieces in there, but that's fine. It'll go away. At this point, when you want to add our chicken breasts back to the sauce so that they can finish cooking, because all we did earlier was just, you know, give it a little toast and crust, so they weren't cooked all the way through. So this is the process that will allow them to absorb this sauce and continue cooking. Wait about 10 minutes and go ahead and give these a flip and make sure you get them to the bottom of the pan. And go ahead and stir your sauce around as well and give it the old taste test. You know, always be tasting your food as you're cooking so you know what it needs. So at this point, giving a taste test, I could definitely taste the vinegar, but I swear if you use red wine or like a third or a quarter of the amount of vinegar that I used, you shouldn't taste any vinegar at all at this point. So I went ahead, I added a little more salt and pepper just to try and cut that vinegar taste down just a little bit, but you might not need to. Just go ahead and, you know, you just do it to taste. And at this point, I also found some of that angel hair that we made in our last video that I needed to use. So I have that cooking just off camera. And this is 10 minutes later. I reduced that heat all the way to low to let this sauce thicken. And look how nice and thick that sauce is now. And there's no more chunks of the cream cheese or anything like that. So it is good and ready to go. So let's give this a quick plate. I have my angel hair pasta that I just seasoned with some salt and pepper and some olive oil. I'm gonna go ahead and put that on our plate first, and then we're going to go ahead and spoon in some of the makeshift ready mushroom sauce that we just created. Give that a little coat right over the pasta. And then we want to go ahead and grab our chicken breast and put that right on top. Just like so. And then if you want a little extra sauce like me, I just love sauce, I'm going to go ahead and put a little more on the top of the chicken breast. Now it might not look too appetizing or presentable, but it's actually very, very tasty. And I was actually pleasantly surprised with the outcome that we got. And so there we have our creamy mushroom sauce with chicken breast. Now again, if you have a red wine, that would be a lot better. I just didn't have any red wine, so cut out that vinegar. If you do have that vinegar, use just a little bit of that vinegar just to deglaze the bottom of your pan. So at the final result of mine, it was just a little too vinegar heavy for my liking. But hey, we live and we learn. That's what this show is all about. You guys are all in this with me, doing it together. And make sure you have some heavy cream. I thought I had heavy cream, then I realized it expired 3 months ago, so I couldn't use that, so I had to improvise. But hey, it actually turned out a lot better than I thought it would. So that's what makes cooking so fun, is just finding ingredients you have and creating something that calls out to you. You don't have to follow a recipe or anything like that. You just put stuff together. If it sounds like it goes together, try it. Hey, I have failed a lot doing that exact same thing where, man, I'm hungry, I'm just gonna put all the stuff together, I eat it, and I can't even eat it, it's so disgusting. But this one was actually pretty decent. I gave it a good solid B for just throwing stuff together. It could have been an A if we had all the right ingredients from the beginning. But hey, you live and you learn. So if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe down below. Don't forget to click here or here and look at my other 2 videos that you might enjoy. I'm Tony Hickman for In Between Cuisine. I'll see you guys next time.